According to the city's website, every 10 years, at the completion of the federal census, Massachusetts law requires that cities and towns undertake the redistricting process to establish ward and precinct boundaries based on the new census data. Drawing new precinct and ward lines will take place if the wards of the city do not contain approximately equal numbers of residents so that each ward's population is within 5% of the average. Even if Newton does not need to redistrict because our precinct plan conforms with the law, it is still necessary to file all the necessary information based on the latest federal census figures and have the plan reapproved by the local election district review commission. The City Council approved to form a special committee to look at the data. We also have the highlights from other topics of discussion during City Council meetings. City Council met on the evening of August 9th. They met for the final time during their summer schedule and will return to regularly scheduled meetings after Labor Day. The City Council discussed a variety of topics, especially in the second call. After approving the motions for each committee, the Council began discussing docket items. The first was a trial program in Newton North Public Schools.
A number of spaces that were eliminated in certain sections around the school to enhance the safety of the arrival and dismissal process, which, if others want to shed more light on, you certainly can. The committee initially held this wanting some more information from different members of the administration and also being concerned about the nature of making the trial permanent after a year in which we didn't have full attendance of students in school or full utilization by the surrounding businesses and community of the parking lot. In the interim time, the administration worked on their end and came back to us with a recommendation that we extend the trial for this school year rather than making the trial permanent, and look to make sure that it continues to work and meet the goals of safety over the course of this school year, with the expectation that they're going to come back and report both to PS&T as well as to finance this spring with their intentions of how they want to go.
Next up was a special permit for the construction of the project on 145 Warren Street.
They have requested that we send this item back to committee. They've been reworking some plans and would like to present something new to the council.
Some councilors were unhappy with the potential downsizing.
Rumor has it that the developer is going to propose a fewer units, same size project with fewer units, same number of square footage, but fewer units. And if that's the case, I too am extremely disappointed. This goes against all of the plans and assertions that we have as a body have made this year and over the years in terms of the direction we want to go.
All proposals from the developer must be considered.
It's all fair game as discussion. It's up to the developer what it wants to do. And we're going to hear in a public forum, whatever the developer wants to propose, and we'll have an opportunity to comment. I presume Council Lipoff will provide an opportunity for the public to comment as well. And councils, of course, can comment.
A draft ordinance pertaining to fossil fuel use in homes was likewise sent back to committee.
This is actually a home rule petition that would give the city the authority to require that new and substantially renovated buildings would use electricity, be required to be heated or cooled based on electricity rather than fossil fuels, and also electricity for hot water appliances and electricity or thermal solar.
The draft ordinance was sent back so that another public hearing can be held.
I think that the principle behind this home rule is wise and worthy. I also think it is worthwhile to us to bring folks like Newton Wellesley Hospital and the Newton Needham Chamber of Commerce into the fold to try and help get this thing right from the beginning. They have some things to say. They may have some concerns. I think it is only fair to hear those concerns up front. And especially I'm thinking of Newton Wellesley Hospitals. We're sitting here still in a pandemic after all the hospital has done. I think the least we can do is hear their concerns. And if there are things we can do to accommodate what they need to do to keep people alive, to make sure that they have power to their facilities.
The draft ordinance is really concerned with construction or rehabilitation, not with pre-existing home systems.
It offers a waiver for cooking. And I don't want residents to think that we're going to write an ordinance that won't allow them to continue to use fossil fuels in their homes if that's what they have. The ordinance we're proposing or wanting to have, it's not proposed, the ordinance we're wanting to have the authority to propose would only require electrification in either brand new construction or what's the definition of substantial construction, which is 50% of the gross square footage of a building or home being under reconstruction.
The most controversial item of the night was about the approval for the special re-precincting committee.
So, as you all know, a few weeks back, President Albright appointed a working group on re-precincting, which is a process that we go through every 10 years upon conclusion of the census to redraw our ward and precinct lines so that they are appropriately sized and within a 5% threshold plus or minus with respect to ward numbers and precinct numbers across the city.
The special counsel was appointed by President Albright. Several counselors expressed concern around who was selected for the committee, citing a lack of inclusivity and representation.
I must say, however, that when you appointed your initial committee and you indicated that there were a limited number of people available, I'll say for the record, nobody contacted me. And I was available and would always be available to serve this council in whatever capacity I can.
President Albright cited a short timeline and a lack of availability for the makeup of the counselors.
In fairness to the president, I completely understand how quickly these things had to move, and how the census has been long delayed, but at the federal level all the way down, and it's a big crunch.
Overall, the process of re-precincting is a technical, rigid process determined by the state.
And as our GIS administrator demonstrated to us at the meeting tonight, this is really predominantly a technical process above anything else. There's special software where you're moving around census blocks and things like that, and the tallies are updating. And that is the process as it exists now in 2021, which has not necessarily been the case even 10 years ago, or certainly 20 years ago and beyond. So I think we are trying to add transparency to the process and bring in as many perspectives as possible. We're trying to come up with a fair map, and a lot of this is driven by requirements by the state. So it's not even really on us to decide. It's just little tinkerings to make everything work for the neighborhoods to the extent possible.
There was a general agreement that the selected counselors are capable of managing the task.
I do think the committee members that I'm looking here have the capacity and ability to do that, so I support it. I think it would be great to have had, if it could have been put together, all 8 ward counselors. It certainly would have looked better, and I think that's sort of what we're talking about here. But I believe the folks that have been appointed to this committee, as well as the nature of the task, that they'll get it.
The initiation of the docket item in itself was meant to make the process more visible and transparent to the council and to the public.
We did not have to docket this item tonight. We could have waited until the first meeting in October. But I asked Ms. Khan to docket this item so that it would become a public process. It was not a public process the last time. There was a committee appointed, they operated in the dark, and it was only at the end that it became a public process. Everything, all the schedule that Councilor Grossman just talked about, all of that is public. It was not a public process the last time. This is a very public process.
Currently, there are no counselors from wards 2, 3, and 4 on the special committee. President Albright said she heard counselors' concerns about the makeup of the committee and will take them into serious consideration. The council is set to discuss new voting legislation in the near future. They are not set to meet again until September. I'm Nicole Mader with Newton News.